morning, everybody. Welcome to Soapbox Slam, where I get on my soapbox and I slam things that I see going on, the country, worldwide, whatever it may be. Get on my soapbox and I add my 2 cents on it. So today I want to talk about something that's really bothersome. It seems to be an agenda that the United States government keeps pushing. And I don't necessarily disagree that there is a climate change. However, I believe that the climate change is more cyclical than it is human control. And I don't think that we as human beings do things to stop climate change. I think we as human beings do things to adapt to climate change. And I think a part of adaptation does not hinder our way of life in order to save the environment, but rather make choices that don't hurt the environment, but continue to use technology and advancement to adapt with the environment. So, having said that, I'm on my soapbox today about this whole push for electric cars. Now, a mandate was ordered by President Biden to have 75% electric vehicles on the road in 9 years. Now, to me, that is absurd. You want to put everybody on electric vehicles, and this is your attempt to reduce our carbon footprint. Okay, it's a fine idea to want to reduce our carbon footprint. I think there are a lot of other things that can be done to reduce our carbon footprint as well that aren't being attacked or being done. But okay, let's go with this and why this is a problem. Number one, our electric grid at this point cannot handle more electricity put on it. It can't do it. Our electric grid is so antiquated, number one. Number two, we have rolling blackouts and severe weather that eliminates our ability to use electricity or reduce when we can, just eliminate our ability to use electricity. So you want to add more electricity to that grid when the grid can't handle it as it is. You continue to raise the rate on the general public, and cost of electricity is so high, and it might not be the exact cost of electricity, but all of the delivery charges and service fees and taxes that you put on top of it are so high that it skyrockets any electric bill. And yet you want more things dependent upon electricity. And again, we have rolling blackouts. We can't sustain all of the stuff put on the grid. It is baffling that all of these companies come in and do business. New building for houses and things like that come in, and they all tap into the electrical grid, taxing that grid. They're not required to add on to the electrical grid to do that building, which should be their responsibility. I think every Amazon and all these corporations that come in, they ought to be required to add 5 more transformers to the grid in order to plug in that area. Instead of just taking, they need to contribute. And giving jobs in the area isn't enough. You get a tax break for that as it is. So, because you bring jobs does not mean you've done enough for the community. You need to add more electricity to the grid. You need to add more to it. You need to be responsible for that. You're drawing more from it. New buildings, all of this stuff. We do all this new building and we put them on the old grids, and then we don't expand these grids, and we don't expand the amount of electricity, storing the amount of electricity that we use. So I'm very adamantly against the idea of electric cars. Also, who gets to have electric cars? I mean, first of all, the price point for them are so high that they're competing with combustible engines, gas engines. And why would I spend more money or the same amount of money on an electric car when I have to upgrade my house to plug it in, when I have to, I mean, the expense, then I have to increase my electric bill because I got to charge my vehicle, and all of that. So why am I inclined to want an electric car? I mean, they're priced too high. They're priced at the same price as a gas combustion engine. I'd rather have a gas combustion engine, number one. Number two, like I said, who gets these? Because as it sounds to me, the only person who gets an electric vehicle are people who have garages. What are you going to do for all the people who live in cities? I mean, you only have so many parking spots on the street. You're going to put electric charging stations on the street. Well, have you ever lived in a city? Do you know how difficult it is to find parking at night sometimes? And then you're going to park a vehicle and charge it while you overnight. I mean, where do the people who live in cities fall in this? Where are all their charging stations going to go? Where's the space for them to charge their vehicles? You know, it really sounds like the only person who's allowed to have the electric vehicle are very wealthy people who have garages, because certainly in cities they're not gonna be there. And you can rent a garage space in big cities that have garages and connected to their building, but you're gonna have to put a lot of electric stations in all those parking spots. And it's already, I mean, if you ever looked into buying renting a condo or buying a condo, there's already competition for the for parking spots, to pay for a parking spot. And so now you're going to have even more competition and raise the price. They're going to raise the price on a parking spot with a charger, and you're going to pay to charge your vehicle. I mean, more money grab. How is that making Americans prosperous? How is that really helping the environment? I mean, I get that the carbon footprint from combustible engines and the exhaust is a pollutant, but the answer is not complete electricity. It absolutely is not. Maybe if we went along with Nikola Tesla's concept of drawing electricity from the air and everybody having free access to electricity, well, then maybe then, you know, the idea of an electric car would be great because it'd be free. But no, the greedy capitalist system decided that there was no way we would get Nikola Tesla's invention to the everyday masses, which, if it had, our society would probably be 10 times more advanced than it is right now. And that's the truth. You know, the real answer to all of this energy supply conundrum in our society is to use all forms of energy and use them all completely. Open the spigot on all of them. Nuclear. Invest in more. I mean, if there's anything I work in gas and pipeline industry, and I am a huge supporter of nuclear energy. A huge supporter of nuclear energy. The amount of energy that we can produce from nuclear energy is tremendous. To me, nuclear, gas, coal, wind, solar, all forms of electricity, all forms of energy ought to be used. Period. Open it up. Let the coal miners dig out the coal in Virginia's. Let them frack for natural gas. Let them bring in tap for oil and refined oil so that we can use gasoline and diesel. Use it all. Use all of it. Stop trying to I mean, what are you going to do if we are all on electricity and somebody knocks out the electrical grid because we're at war or because we get attacked? Everybody's going to go dark, and really the government wants us to be that dependent so that when they do knock out the electricity, we all go dark. We don't have any other forms of getting through. I mean, the idea to be dependent on one source of energy, to me, is putting all your eggs in one basket and tying a noose around your neck. It is unwise, and it is completely unwise for government, who thinks they know best, to push an agenda like this. The agenda they should be pushing is to expand all forms of energy, gas, natural gas, oil, coal, nuclear, solar, wind, all forms, and expand it. That's what we should be doing. But the idea of having 75% electric vehicles on the road in 9 years, to me, is a poor agenda, a poor platform, and a poor mission to push. I do not support that idea, and the people who do support that, I tend to feel, I don't know. I don't know that they really understand the vulnerability of being dependent upon one source of energy, that being electric. Now, all of these forms of energy feeding the electric grid, okay, but the grids can't handle it. Our electrical system as it is today is poor, and a complete societal revamp needs to occur in order to be electric dependent. But I am not. I have no desire to be electric dependent. I think that is, like I said, a noose around your neck and all your eggs in one basket. I mean, I have a home in Texas, and the entire house is on electricity. All of it. Furnace, boiler, oven, stove, heat, everything. Everything is on electricity, and my electric bill is $400 to $500 a month on average. Everything. In my apartment in Illinois, I have half electric, half gas. And between the two, my electric bill is just about $100 to $150 a month, depending on the time of year. And my gas bill, depending on the time of year, is anywhere between $25 to $85 a month, depending on the time of year. So between the two, I am able to keep my energy costs down better in Illinois than I could ever do in Texas. And in Texas, a lot of homes are all dependent on electric. They don't have a lot of gas provided homes. There are. I'm not saying there aren't any. That's not what I'm saying. Correct yourselves and get your panties out of a bunch. But the majority of homes, a lot of homes, are all dependent upon electricity, which is why the electric companies can rake people over the coals in prices, because there's no other alternative. And you put everybody dependent on one form of energy, that being electricity, they will rape you. They will take everything and hold you over the barrel of a gun, and you will not be able to be prosperous, because they will continue to raise prices, create new fees, create new surcharges, and everything else, being dependent upon one source. And the idea that the government wants you all to be dependent upon one source seems to be a hidden agenda. They are not looking out for your interests. If they were looking out for the interest of the American people, they certainly would not be pushing this agenda. They would be pushing many agendas, not one. It's very suspect. So, again, this electric car issue really, really annoys me. I'm not saying I wouldn't buy one. I would buy one if they were cheaper. I'm not going to spend $40,000 to $50,000 on an electric vehicle. I'll spend 20, I'll spend 25, maybe 30 on an electric vehicle, but not $40,000 to $50,000 on an electric vehicle. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. No. You're out of your ever freaking living, loving mind. Absolutely crazy. Reduce the cost. You want to get everybody on electric cars? Reduce the cost of electric cars. Solutions to the problem? Reduce the cost of electric cars significantly. $20,000. That way everyone can afford to buy one, number one. And allow, between the electric car and the gas combustion car, you'll actually reduce, because you'll have an influx of both vehicles and people have a choice, you can actually reduce the cost of new vehicles as well. Gas vehicles, the cost would go down, because now people would have the option to buy electric or gas, buy electric for cheap, or buy gas, and it would be much cheaper. So it would be a competitive market, and that would be true capitalism. That, you want to know what capitalism is? Capitalism is not forcing electric cars down everybody's throat. Capitalism is putting electric cars on the market at a cheaper rate, significantly cheaper rate. Therefore, the competition of buying electric cars versus gas cars would be in competition with each other, and the supply and demand of both would keep each other in check and keep the price point down. That would be real capitalism. That's capitalism. But to force the electric car down everyone's throat and everything else, and say that we need to worry about our carbon footprint and all that other stuff, that is not capitalism. That is not capitalism at all. That is government overreach. And when government overreaches, it's because a bunch of lobbyists have a specific interest in seeing something happen in their interest, so they make more money. And so they pay off your representatives to support their cause. And I mean, that's just, I don't make this stuff up, people. And like I said, the infamous, illustrious green screen does exist. Unfortunately, I'm at neither of my homes where the green screen exists, so I'm unable to show you my receipts and do this. So anyways, that's me on my soapbox about electric cars. I'll talk about this issue again. Give it a thought, think about it, and scrutinize and analyze and really hold to task what they're asking from you by being dependent upon electricity and electric cars. Really evaluate that. It's a dangerous game. really is. So that's me on my soapbox. Have a wonderful day. Be kind. Do an act of kindness today. You know, it's always good. It's always better to have kindness in your heart. So have an act of kindness today. You take away anything from my soapbox, take away that. Do an act of kindness. There's always somebody who needs a little smile or help. Take care. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.